electron flow first produces a maximum concentration in this direction, reverses, then produces a maximum in the opposite direction. Flow reverses, maximum. This cycle repeats itself at the signal frequency. While the charges build up the most at the peaks, the highest current is where the electrons are moving the most. Where the electrons are moving the most is where you'll have the highest current power losses. Like in transmission, those power losses are ohmic losses and are lost to heat. Just like a wine glass driven at its resonant frequency shatters, and a mechanical system will oscillate until failure. If we drive the antenna at its resonant frequency and at a rate faster than it can dissipate the heat, it will become glowing red hot. But let's say we drive it with many different resonant frequencies, so that when they add together, they make a wave of extreme intense current in a localized tight spot, but a very low current all other places on the antenna. If that current is applied to the long steel beams of a skyscraper, do you think something different will happen? Do you think ohmic heating won't apply here? Electricity does melt steel beams. electron flow first produces a maximum concentration in this direction, reverses, then produces a maximum in the opposite direction. Flow reverses, maximum. This cycle repeats itself at the signal frequency. While the charges build up the most at the peaks, the highest current is where the electrons are moving the most. Where the electrons are moving the most is where you'll have the highest current power losses. Like in transmission, those power losses are ohmic losses and are lost to heat. Just like a wine glass driven at its resonant frequency shatters, and a mechanical system will oscillate until failure. If we drive the antenna at its resonant frequency and at a rate faster than it can dissipate the heat, it will become glowing red hot. But let's say we drive it with many different resonant frequencies, so that when they add together, they make a wave of extreme intense current in a localized tight spot, but a very low current all other places on the antenna. If that current is applied to the long steel beams of a skyscraper, do you think something different will happen? Do you think ohmic heating won't apply here? Electricity
and friction
does melt steel beams.
I have all that on camcorder. I mean, took a tape and sort of sealed it in a box with my September 11th memorabilia. It's my own in-house time capsule, if you will. Maybe my grandkids will open it one day. But that, capture that. Wait a minute. This is a huge. How could there be an explosion without a shock wave? That means it wasn't a bomb. Of course, I would later learn once, because I didn't see the plane. A plane flew in. Okay, there it was. I have all that on camcorder. I mean, I took a tape and,
tuned Tesla coil, you could do the same thing if that was still insulated or in a box. Isn't that kind of cool? So if you got the right bell to get it to resonate, you can cause that to resonate. You can cause it to then emit a sound that once you stop this one, you can find it through triangulating its position from the surface. Pyramids. Bells. Ancient, coveted information during the time of Tesla for submarine warfare. In our previous example, we had a ship that had a Tesla coil on it that went into the water, and it could pick up the electrical oscillations. And I had said that you had to tune this specific electric resonator, the Tesla coil. Tuning you find where you pick up the amplitude the highest, that gives you your signal that you would get. You pan across your frequency domain to find where it hits, and you see where the amplitude increases. Instead of having specific mechanical analogs of the Tesla coil, what you just need is a mechanical oscillator, or a tuned mechanical oscillator, i.e. either just a set of tuning forks, or acoustic version of this. Once you get it trapped in the waveguide channel, it goes around the whole world. Now, I would like to stress too, once it goes past the largest radial point of the Earth, those waves then begin converging back on themselves, and that's no longer an increasing area cylinder. While there still is attenuation of the wave as it goes further on the Earth, those waves begin to culminate back together. Everything we really thought about on wave transmission, not going far, kind of goes out the window.
But we can go deeper.
And you just ring your bell until it starts resonating the...
Do you think heating won't apply here?
But that,
It doesn't have to be pyramids. You could get people at each of these places to just constantly putting the ground vibrations in by doing dances. Daily rotation of people doing prayers. Due to the seismoelectric effect, mechanical vibrations put into the earth. In the desert, parts of it will rectify into a electrical waveform, which means, let's say you're out in the desert in dune land. Every step you take will send wave pulses out from where you walk. Just like in the movie Dune, where they have to do the weird step so that the sandworms don't just come and eat you alive. You have this system of sending mechanical vibrations through the ground, phased array setup. You don't have to have any giant wave, you just have to have small waves all over the place. Get them coordinated, directed energy weapon. If you're out in the desert and you're walking at pace, You can be triangulated anywhere in the desert, and anyone who's got good enough phased array acoustic technology can send a ground wave to Sandbar! Everything from targeted earthquakes to potential Havana Syndrome sonic weapon technology that no one can seem to explain where it's coming from. Wonder where it's coming from.
Cap. No way. Bullshit. Absolutely not. I wrote back and said, oh, holy shit, what the fuck?
These things are, as our illustrious Congresswoman says, a sign from God. God is sending us signals that America needs to repent.
If you don't repent and pay tribute to your nearest king, God won't make your lands bountiful or send an earthquake or not even like a couple weeks before I start talking about this. And they're already out there claiming
If you aren't capable of believing,
I think that's rude.
Especially up to level 5. So
you got one side telling you it's
Kiss my
God,
ass.
you got the other side telling you it's
I'm a member
nature,
of Congress.
neither of which you can do anything about.
Why would we?
It's really simple.
Our culture does not demand pyramid. There's just no reason to. We have no purpose for the pyramids or otherwise accoutrement to the pyramids.
You don't know what this technology I've been trying to teach everyone about is possible or capable of doing.
Listen, buddy, you don't need any pyramids.
I've seen the evidence.
Don't think about what comes after or what came before.
And we are going
Gotta
to
bend your knees.
Needs to worry about its own country, and frankly,
You know, just keep consuming and consuming and consuming, and, you know, we can all dance on the grave of the planet later. Who gives a fuck? Drinking to the downfall of humanity.
Don't worry about it though. It's just nature or
It
God.
is being proven. It
Does
is.
that look like no fucking purpose for the pyramid to you?
I don't appreciate that type of language.
Ridiculous.
And if you ask me, all these crazy zealot news stations that keep making videos about all the UFO releases and all these guys are just seemingly showing nothing.
What's the answer? Where's the video, Jeremy?
Yeah, that's part of the story, and I think I'm going to have to answer that at another time. But I will say this, is that there is more footage. So some people got to see portions of it within the intelligence community. There is a bigger story to tell.
They want you to think it's this kind of technology. It's some outrageous super sci-fi stuff and not something as simple as just bell towers.
That absolute beast right there is made up of 4 M130.
This is a bell tower, playing another day of sun.
I unlocked some sort of superpower.
There are technologies at the South Pole Station that people can't even consider that exist on this planet.
But first they'll make sure you think it's Tesla towers so they can then call you crazy.
Physically held a key that opened every single door in the facility. I had complete access to every compartment they manufactured. Directed energy weapon systems is something that people need to get in their vocabulary fast. The ice cube neutrino detector.
Just bell towers, directed energy weapons, and they're scaring us all with it too. So it's not the government, is it? Don't believe that. It's not lost in Antarctica, out of your reach. That's what they want you to believe.
What are you blowing the whistle on?
Directed energy weapon system.
Bell towers
Simply has the capacity to transmit.
Directed energy
as presented for the
weapons.
The science that people can't even consider.
Honestly, at this point, I'm not mad, just disappointed. Anyway, with that out of the way.
And I find it very interesting. There's so much lore behind the
entity that is roughly translated as the Sand Runner or Sand Traveler, a type of malicious spirit that takes the form of a living sand dune and can move and change shape at will. Could this have been the same creature the Russian officials were now secretly aware of and viewed as a genuine threat? What connects Alexander the Great, Prophet Suleiman, and the Allied incursion into Iran in 1941? The Rigi Jinn Desert, otherwise known as the Dune of the Jinn. Old Persian myths concerning an extra-dimensional gateway existing at its core, guarded by terrifying eldritch-type creatures. In the 21st century, based in and around the more accessible areas, large parts of the Rigi Jinn remains avoided. Because of this, some nomads still speak of terrifying ancient threats that exists within it. From the time of Alexander the Great to the modern age, this threat may not only be a relic from ancient folklore, but something the Russian government might have encountered in the 1940s.